Welcome back to Little Things 2.0. This time I'm actually in the office. So exciting. It is spring pretty soon, which means that I will finally be able to seal my beautiful door and we will install the beautiful door. And then the office will officially be open for in-person clients. And it'll warm up just a little bit, so I don't have to worry about running the heaters back here and actually be cozy. It's still a little chilly, but I have this incredible UGG blanket currently, so that is why I am wrapped up. But I needed to get into this office and back into this space and back into the feeling of it all, and it's so beautiful. We did a lot of renovations. We had to tear down an entire wall. All of this is for another episode, I'm sure, but it's incredible coming back into the space that you sat in while you built the empire, right? And then the empire just had a little bit of shifting, a little bit of growth, a little bit of renovating, and then you get back into it, and it's just so beautiful. Anyway, I had to just introduce this space. If you're watching the video version of this episode, you will see my surroundings are quite different. So hopefully this will be the space where the rest of the podcasts come to you from. However, the system that I use for this podcast through Riverside is pretty awesome, and I noticed that when you're actually on Spotify, you can switch it from video to audio, so you get to like pick and choose how you want to embody yourself in these episodes, which I think is really cool. So I wanted to just reintroduce the space and the system and the back end stuff to you before I dive into today, because I feel it's a little important for the topic, right? It is excuse versus reason, and I had all of this idea kind of like flow to me yesterday, and I had to write it down in my notes so I didn't miss anything. So if I'm over here for a second, it's because I'm reading those notes, because all of this really like layers on top of each other, but also can be almost like a hierarchy that you can view in these moments as well. So think of that too as I'm talking through this, like the levels and where you may fall on some of the levels, or how you can actually see what I'm talking about in kind of like a upward triangle, almost like an actual hierarchy kind of system. So you can either have a reason or you can have an excuse. But here is how the excuse may be hidden as a reason, right? So often we're like, yeah, maybe I don't want to do that, or, oh, I do want to do that, and I want to do that so much that I'm actually burnt out from doing it that much. So I want to dive into excuse versus reason and a couple shifts at the end here that will just really bring all those layers and that hierarchy into a big picture. So you could have just like adapted to this excuse for so long on repeat that you have trained yourself to use it as your reason. Let me say that again. You have adapted to an excuse for so long, repetitively, that it has been trained in your mind to use as your reason. And we will dive into examples. How do we stop that process? First, to even stop something, it has to be going, right? So being aware that we are actually using an excuse as our reason. So first, being aware that we have a reason for something is the beginning, right? Too, because in order to stop something, it has to be going. It has to have been started in order to stop. So the awareness here is first step. That is the first step of how we stop the process. After we are aware and we notice that it's happening, next notice when your reason or excuse is coming up. Like, what is its trigger, right? What is starting this response or reaction? Because those two things are different. To then go into this excuse or reason. What is the main event? The starting point. And then what is your most used reason for a certain topic? Is it something that you question yourself on, like as soon as it comes up? So, like, an example for this. Hey, friend, I want to go grab coffee with you. Can we set that up soon? What is your immediate response? Your immediate reaction to that? Just off the top of your head, without even thinking or opening your calendar or anything like that, what is your initial reaction to that question? Hey, friend, let's meet up for coffee. Can we set that up? I would love to meet for coffee with you. We haven't seen each other in such a long time. I want to catch up. What is your initial reaction? Is it absolutely not, way too busy, swamped, the kids are doing this, that, and the fifth, I absolutely cannot, I'm booked out? Is that your initial reaction? Is immediately no, even though in your gut you would like to say yes, right? What is it, that battle in there inside? This battle of like, oh, I should have said yes. Or, oh, I really wanted to then, but now I really don't feel like it. And we can dive deeper into that whole tango of decision making in another episode as well, because that's a whole nother thing. But what is it that you're catching yourself in this loop for? Is it that situation of being invited out that stops you? Is that situation of needing to figure out what to do with the family so you can go out stopping you? And what have you almost unconsciously trained yourself to respond with? That it may have been a reason that is now ingrained as an excuse, or vice versa. Let's continue to dive into this. Why are you actually saying the response that you're saying if your gut is saying something differently? Is it not enough time? Your schedule's too crazy, you're too tired, there's not enough resources to accomplish anything, you're too old, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that, you didn't like it before, you never tried it, you're never going to, etc. What is your most used reason? And can you see how it may be disguised as an excuse? Can you see it? Just think for a moment your situation, kind of like my example of going out for a coffee with your friend. What is your most used reason out of that list that I listed? Schedule's too crazy, not enough time in the day, don't even have the $10 to go get a coffee right now, etc. What do you want to do for that to change? Is it in your gut, I would love to actually go get coffee with my friend? In my gut, like, that is what I desire to do. I would love to do that with my time. But I'm still using this reason or excuse to not do it. And why is that happening? What do you want to do in order to change that? Do you want a babysitter? Do you want a little extra cash? Do you want to fix your schedule for a little bit more freedom to go do those things? Do you want to say yes? And what steps would it take for you to get there, to change that reason, to change the excuse, to almost rewire and retrain your mind to say yes? Or the opposite, the flip side of that, to say no. Yes, I am burnt out. absolutely will this be a no, because I am going to take that time instead to fill up my own cup by myself, right? So it can apply to any situation, any feeling. Next, it leads to how to switch. A keyword, and I want you to really think about this and hear me say this as I'm going through the examples and notice where it's changing. I'm not going to tell you the keyword. I'm going to read these examples and I want you to pinpoint the keyword to switching the reason and excuse and how to recondition that response reaction to other situations. Examples. Not working on this because my day is too crazy. That's my excuse. My excuse is my day is too crazy. I'm not working on it. And then switching it to I am working on this because the day is so crazy that it's actually a priority is set and that I chose. It can go from I'm not working on this because my day is too crazy to you know what? I am going to work on this because my day actually is crazy, and this topic, this subject, this item actually is my priority. So because my day is too crazy, I will actually be working on this. I flipped it from the excuse of my day being too crazy to not doing it to my day being too crazy to my reason to accomplish that task. Do you see the switch? I'm not going to do it because, or this is my reason to do it because. Have you picked up on the keyword yet? Another example. I'm not going to focus on this goal because I have so much going on in my life. I'm not going to focus on this goal because I have too much going on in my life. There's so much happening in my life right now that focusing on this goal, there's my excuse. Too much going on in my life. Excuse. And the switch, because life is lifing and I have so much going on, I am choosing to work on this goal. Because there's so much going on in my life, I have to. It is my priority. It is utmost importance for me to work on this goal because I have so much going on in my life. Did you pick up on the keyword yet? I want to tie back to the first example. Notice the first couple words. My reason for not coming is blank. My reason for not coming is I'm too tired. My reason for not coming is because life is lifing. My reason for not coming. Notice how it's almost like you're defending your excuse and turning it into your reason. When the switch is what you want because I'm looking to do this in my life because there's your switch. My day is too crazy. I'm not going to reach out to my therapist because my day is too crazy. My reason of not working on X, Y, and Z is because of this. Instead, switching it to because my life is crazy, I'm going to. Because my day is out of control, I am going to. There's the switch. Because of this excuse, I am going to. There's your new reason. So instead of defending your reason in this little disguise of an excuse, right? We bring the reason into why we are taking that action, why we are changing our answers, why we are taking back control of ourselves, of our situations, and ultimately the way that you approach things in your future. Because just as quickly as we have ingrained this excuse, and this excuse being almost our automatic response, our initial reaction, and you can feel it in your gut like it doesn't actually feel right because it is an excuse, just as quickly as that became your norm to say, think, do, take, act upon, you can refocus it. Turn the knob from excuse to reason, and the ultimate little arrow that's showing you, okay, here you were at your excuse, here you are at reason, is the key word because. The placement of because in your sentence makes all the difference even. So try that. I want you to try that. The next time that you come into a situation, scenario, whatever, somebody asks you, hey, can we go to coffee? I want you to actually pause, because there's magic in the pause, and think, how do I want to respond to this? I'm not going to listen to my initial reaction and react to their invitation. I'm going to pause to respond, and I am going to notice, is this my reason or is this an excuse? And where does my because fall? I would love to hear what you apply this to, what really stood out for you, and where you can see on that hierarchy excuse, reason, response, reaction, because, right? Where on that is your focus going? Where on that scale are you choosing? Where on that level, what level are you on, and where does that fit into how you feel you have control? What level, excuse or reason, do you feel you have the most control of yourself, the situation, and ultimately how you approach things that happen in your life? I would love to hear it. I would love to see some DMs on Instagram at Little Things Life Coach on how this can apply to you and where you are noticing the initial excuse or your ultimate reason. And if any light bulbs come up for where you have actually trained yourself to just immediately, like an instant, respond, or I should say, react with an excuse. I would love to hear it. So please jump in my DMs. Let me know what really stood out for you in this episode of Excuse First Reason. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Stay tuned. Thanks for being here and all of your listener support as always. And before we go, like for real, there's always someone believing in you. And if you can't find that person, be that person.